Hi everyone, my name's Rob Newell. I'm one of the volunteers at the National Vietnam Veterans Museum at Phillip Island. I've been volunteering here now in the restoration area for 10 years, I think, since I retired. I retired as a school principal, so I don't have a background in aircraft restoration, but clearly I have an interest in that sort of thing. Over my years of restoration work here, I was trained by the original restoration manager here, Colin, in how to do all the things we need to do. So the sort of stuff we in restorations do is fabrication like of this item here, which is the wing of a bird dog recon aeroplane from the Vietnam veteran era. And we restore other artefacts, vehicles, but mostly aircraft and whatever else. There are a range of volunteers here. A lot of us come from different walks of life. Some are from the commercial aviation industry. Some people have had a military career, but myself and most of the volunteers have come from a variety of walks of life, and we've ended up here doing the sort of fabrication and work that we do. When I first started here, I was, as you would expect with little experience, I was given small tasks to help with vehicles, to get them up and running. And as you become more proficient and you know the operation of the workshop, I was given tasks that were more complex and shown the appropriate procedures to use in the workshop. One of the first ones, aviation-based projects that I did was similar to this one. It was many years ago. A jig was made like this, which is the frame that this wing is on. I didn't make that jig, and it was for a 1940s Japanese World War II seaplane called Pete that had its wing damaged, and my job with some other people in those days was to do something similar to this, was to dismantle it, find the damaged parts, repair and remake bits and pieces, and then start putting it back together. Unfortunately, we never got to finish that job because it was a job we were doing in kind for another museum, and we do a lot of networking with the museum. Like, we have parts for this and they have parts of that, so we do a lot of swapping, which keeps the cost for the museum down, I guess, and makes it viable for everyone in the museum area to really keep track of the project they're doing. But essentially, I've worked on the Caribou, which is out front. I spent a lot of years working on that, and a few other bits and pieces around the place, but mostly now on the bird dog for the last year or so. A lot of the stuff we have to do is fabricate, which is why it's so time-consuming, because what we're doing, we're trying to find parts or make parts for aircraft that are at least 50 or more years old. And the thing with military aircraft is that because they have a military application, they're not presumed to have a very long lifespan. So they're built with the notion in mind that they might last a year or two in combat, and then they're scrapped or taken apart for parts or something of that nature. So they don't have a long lifespan. So when you come across an aircraft like this, there's a lot of work to get it back into a reasonable condition. They'll never be restored to a flying condition. That's beyond our scope and our capacity, but they'll be restored to a condition that is museum worthy, I think is possibly the best way to say it. We only accept major artefacts like this that were actually represented in Vietnam. So at some point this aircraft would have been a major support part or actually present in Vietnam. That's as far as I know. So when we received the wing, it had its skin top and bottom. This is the top of the wing, this is the leading edge, trailing edge there, and the fuselage, the body of the aircraft, would have been under this part over here where you can see that brown cloth. So this was all wing sticking out. So this is the centre section, and that's replicated over the other side. So from here on out was where the damage occurred. And the wing is supposed to have, if the aircraft's sitting like that, the wing is supposed to have a slight lift like that. Well, this one had crashed, so the lift was up like that. So we've had to take it all back to basics right to here. And this shiny part of metal is the new main spar. This is a piece of the main spar that was destroyed in the original crash, and so we use that as templates. Here is another part of it, and you can see the damage that was occurring there. So this part went in there, and you can see where it's been ripped and then torn further out. So we've remade this part and just jigged it up in place, and you can see these string lines that are establishing the reference points for the wing. So we're projecting out from a data point here out there to see how far off we are, because you have to establish where the wingtip is going to be and then build out towards the wingtip. So we've got the remade ribs, which are these things here. Here are the remanufactured ribs out of aircraft grade aluminium. So this one is this one. So that's the original. And you can see where the paint's come off. It's been torn and cracked and whatever else. And you can't really use it because the aluminium is very thin and it's very old. So when it gets stretched and whatever else, it rips and it cracks. So you can't really use it. So you have to make it again. So that's what we've been doing. When we get this jigged and that jigged, so at the moment the main spar is right, and the rear of the trailing edge of the wing, we've got to make sure that they're in proper alignment so they aren't going like that. At the moment, the trailing edge is a little bit out of whack, so we're going to have to pull that back so that bit there matches that string line. So there's a fair bit of work there to do. Once we've done that and we've got the trailing edge back in place and jigged up, we can then start putting these in place and reassembling it. So we're probably about, the restoration area at the museum this area operates Tuesdays and Thursdays every week, and I've been doing a day a week for nearly 10 years now, and I come in on Tuesdays now. So out of every month, I kind of only get to do 4 days of work. So probably in the next 2 or 3 months over winter, we will hopefully start to put this back together, and then we'll be able to start looking at skinning it and start putting the leading edge back in place also.
And why do you think it's so important to do this restoration work?
That's a really interesting question that we've here at the museum talked about for a while, because these are not just any old vehicle. You know, this thing was a part of our war effort, and it's an artefact. It's not just an aeroplane. So it has historical significance, and I think we as volunteers, we need to recognise that and to restore the artefact as best we possibly can. We'll never get it to airworthy condition, but as best we possibly can to give acknowledge and give credence to what it was actually used for. What is proposed, John, is that this aircraft, as I say, this is the top of the wing, so people won't see it. They'll see from the underside, because the aircraft is proposed to be hung from the ceiling at an angle as if it was swooping in or something of that nature. So this area from where my hand is, possibly out to where the support is here, will leave that open, so you will be able to see this. And before these are put in place, some of this lettering, which is part of the aviation accreditation procedure for this metal, that'll be wiped off, and these will be sprayed with clear so that people will be able to see what work has been done in restoration. So rather than, as we might normally do, is paint it green like this and then close it all off so you wouldn't know, we look like we'll be leaving part of this open so people can see some of the work that is done and how aircraft are assembled, because until people come and see this stripped down, most people have no idea what's inside a wing. No, I just find this very valuable work to do, and it's if you get an opportunity to volunteer, take it. This is rewarding work. Yeah. Yes, you do. You do have an object to work towards, and you know where you're heading with it. And the guys who volunteer here with me, they're a disparate but very interesting group, and they're a really good group to work with.
My name's Ray. I've been with the museum for quite a few years now. This is the bird dog. You would have noticed just before that the wing that they were working on inside attaches to this part here. The fuselage was badly damaged, the undercarriage was bent, and the section here has been caved in. Peter and I have been working on this. Peter's done most of this so far, but we've renewed this section of panel here. There's a bit more to go. And we're slowly getting it into shape. We're trying as hard as we can to get it back to original. Very hard at times, but this will be on display in our new museum. I believe it's going to be suspended from the ceiling. Needs to be looking right and nice and, as I say, as close to original as we can get it.
How long have you been doing restoration work there?
For the museum, about 12, 14 years now, all up. When I started here, the Canberra was out the back of the museum in the paddock, basically stayed in the same place, and they built the museum, the back half of the museum around it. So, it's been a while now. Someone bought 3 of them, and this was what he had left over. The wings that we've got, there's one here, and I think both wings came off different fuselages, and we're just putting it together as best we can.
I volunteer here, and basically what we're doing here is we just try to preserve a bit of history so history doesn't repeat itself.
They shall not grow old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.